Hey there, Kris Amerikos here, and welcome to another video. In this video, I'm going to talk about the phrase, where do you live? And maybe we should say, where are you living? What's right? When should we say it? We'll find out in this video. So have you ever met a person and they're just like, hey, where do you live? No, it's not the first question that people usually ask you, but it is a question that you might ask someone if you visit their city or if you live somewhere near someone else, right? So maybe you live in a town or two towns away from where the other person lives. Let's say we're going to see our friend John. And John doesn't live far away, but he lives somewhere near me and I don't know exactly where he lives. So I might ask him, hey John, where do you live? This is a different situation than if John moves to a new place. When John moves to a new place, then maybe now I don't know where he lives, right? Because I know that he changed his place of living. And I can ask him, John, where are you living now? So the big difference between asking someone, where do you live, and where are you living, is that when we ask, where are you living, we usually think that it's not forever. It's not permanent. We think that it's going to change again, or that it changed recently. So if we're talking about changing the place that you live, then we might use, hey, where are you living now? But in most cases, we don't say, where are you living? We say, where do you live? Most situations aren't about changing where we live or moving from one place to the other. We usually just want to know where their house is, where they sleep, right? I want to know where you sleep. Ay, Kris. But both of these phrases, where do you live and where are you living, are correct. So you can't say that one of them is a mistake. It's just that we usually say, where are you living, a lot less and in some special situations. So it's safer for you, if you're learning English, to just say, where do you live in most situations? And you probably thought that that was the end of the video, but no, because I have more. Another big mistake that a lot of students make is confusing the verbs to live and to stay. Because you live in your house with your things, right? Like I have my shelf, my triangle shelf that has nothing on it. It's very important to me. I have my computer and I have my motivational poster and I have my Amerikos sign and so I live here, right? I have all my things here. I sleep here. I live here. If you asked where do I live? Well, I'll tell you, I live right here. But if I travel to another city or another country, I don't take all these things with me. Maybe just my Amerikos sign, but that's it. Because when I travel to another city or another country, I'm not changing my house. I'm just going to a place and sleeping there for a few days or weeks, and then I come back to my home, my house, right? The place where I live. So when I go to those places, sometimes I go to a hotel, sometimes Airbnb. Wow, Kris, you're a classy guy. But I never bring all of the things that I have to that place with me, right? I don't do that. I don't live in that place. I just stay in that place. So when we're asking about hotels and we're asking about a temporary living arrangement, then we usually say stay. So let's imagine that your friend Timothy comes from another city to visit you. And he says, I'm not going to stay at your house, Kris. How can you not stay at my house? I have everything you need on my triangle shelf right here. And if he's not staying at my house, well, he has to stay somewhere. And I ask, hey, where are you going to stay when you come to visit? Or I might ask, where are you staying? This means which hotel or place are you sleeping at, but it's not your house, right? We know that they didn't take all of their things and move to this place, so now they live in this place. That's not what happened. And that's a really important difference, because what if you make a friend who speaks English and your friend says, hey, can I live with you? That's a lot different than if they ask the question, can I stay with you? Right? Because stay means it's going to be short and they're not going to bring everything that they own to stay there with you. just maybe a suitcase, maybe a backpack, right? Or if it's me, I mean, not even a toothbrush, just the clothes on my back. Now we're getting too personal. I don't want to overshare. So it's really important to know the difference between those two words. Maybe you're having some repairs done on your house. Maybe something needs to be fixed. And while this work is happening in your house, you decide that you're going to sleep at your mother's house. You can say, I'm staying with my mother while they work on my house. Again, you did not move there, you don't live there, you're just staying there. But you really should be careful if somebody asks you the question, where do you live? Because maybe you don't want everybody to know your address, right? You don't want them to know where you live because they might just come there uninvited. I remember one time I was taking a taxi ride and the taxi driver said, what street do you live on? And of course he's a taxi driver, so he needs to know what street I live on, so I told him. And then he says, which building do you live in? And of course I want him to take me to the front door, so I told him which building I lived in. But then he said, okay, what apartment do you live in? And I was about to tell him, and then I thought, wait a minute. This guy doesn't need to know what apartment I live in. Why is he asking me that? And I gave him a strange look, and he thought it was so funny. Yeah, I've had some crazy taxi drivers. And I wanted to share that little story with you to give you an example of another mistake that a lot of people make. Where do you live is not about a building. It's about a place, a location, right? Maybe it's a region of the city or a district of the city. Maybe it's a city or maybe it's a country. And all of these things are areas. They're not buildings. When we talk about buildings, we can say that I live in an apartment, or I live in a house, or I live in a townhouse, or I live in a cottage. And when we talk about streets, we can say I live on First Street, or I live on Main Street. So if we're just asking in general about the area that the person lives, we can say, where do you live? But if we're asking about the street, we should say, what street do you live on? And if we're asking about the building, we can ask, what do you live in? Or what kind of building do you live in? We might also ask the question, who do you live with? I live with my wife and my daughter. It's basically their house. I just sleep on the couch. So I hope that helps you understand the difference between where do you live, where are you living, what do you live in, and what street do you live on? If you like this video, press like. If you want to see more videos like it, press subscribe. And leave a comment down below just to let me know what you think about this video. If it was useful, if I should make more, etc., etc. You know the deal. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.